Hello, hello, hello. Hey, Twitchers, YouTubers, those of you who've joined us on our Facebook page, welcome to a special episode of the Inequality Podcast. I am your host, and I want to say thank you for taking time out tonight to join in. This is a special episode. As I said, we are not normally here on Tuesday evenings, but we wanted to make sure that we got this special episode in. Again, let me just start off by saying if you're in the chat on Twitch, please highlight your comments or questions that you might have for your guest. We'll make sure that we're taking breaks and addressing them all. Of course, engage with the audience. If you are on YouTube or on Facebook, I am seeing those as well. So we'll make sure that we keep everyone involved in the conversation. We are Inequality. Please follow, subscribe for any updates and notifications. As you can see, I do come on at different times. So as long as you're following and you're subscribed, then you'll be sure to get any notifications when I go live. All right, so I'm Twana's Twitch. This is the Inequality Podcast, where we aim to be that space between inequality. The mission is to provide the space to learn, grow, shift our perspective, share ideas, and challenge social norms in a positive way. We will work to move from having conversations to effective action, disrupting the complacency that we have towards inequality in one of the richest countries in the world. Every subject will be approached with an open mind and the chance to see things in a different light, and hopefully do the same for the audience. Being in this space means that we advocate for people to have equal opportunities to improve their lives. We begin to help others remove their blinders while we're also removing ours. We need to see other people, appreciate their perspective and their journey. My wish is that we all recognize that everyone wants and deserves the same things in life. Be a valuable contributor to our communities, live in safe neighborhoods, free of crime, thriving, not just surviving. So today we are focused on American Heart Month and the heart health of African American women and men. We have so much to talk about. So let me introduce my special guest. Hold on, let me bring her on. Hi, Dr. Vadali. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
Oh, man. Ever since you told me that I had a perfect heart, I'm doing so much better.
I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud of everything you've done and accomplished. And, I feel like you're just kind of on your heart healthy journey now. And I think it's going to be good.
I am. I wish I would have had your personal number. I would have showed you like all my meal prepping that I did. I was so proud. Just getting back into the swing of things. I mean, we most of the time we understand what it is that we need to do. We just need sometimes a little push to get there.
And there's
Back
no
there
better
again.
way than like knowing that, you might have a heart scare to put you in that direction of healthy eating or healthy lifestyle patterns.
Absolutely. So tell us a little bit about yourself. I think that you have such an interesting and wonderful background. So tell us about yourself and how you got to be a heart doctor. I'm going to just call it that instead of a cardiologist because
Yeah,
my
no,
tongue.
that sounds wonderful. I kind of introduce myself as a heart doctor because that's how I identify myself. But my story is a little interesting. Most people kind of felt that it was just kind of the path for me to become a doctor, which is absolutely not true. Both my parents came from very humble beginnings and came obviously like as any immigrant with like a couple dollars in their pocket, and they said, "Do whatever makes you happy." But when I was 16, I actually witnessed my uncle pass away tragically. He was 50 years old from a massive heart attack. And it was actually, because of disparities in healthcare for him, I think. I think they put it off as a jaw issue and they never actually ran the appropriate tests. And unfortunately for him, it didn't work out. And I think that shaped me into kind of wanting to do this. And really, if I could prevent one person from having a heart attack, I'm happy. I feel like I did my job. So fast forward med school, then residency at University of Missouri, and then fellowship. I stayed there. I practiced 2 years on the west side of Phoenix, and now I'm here in Scottsdale,
and
where we met.
and and you grew up, didn't you grow up in, I don't want to say Chicago, but for some reason in my mind, but Baltimore, was it
I
Baltimore?
did. Yeah. So I
Okay.
grew up halfway between Baltimore and DC.
Okay.
Washington, DC. Yeah.
All
So
right.
in the suburb of Maryland.
Okay. I have so many new people that I've met through Twitch that live out that way. So when you told me, it just burned in my head like, oh, she was out there in Baltimore where my people are.
That's right. That's right. I know it's a special place in my heart for them.
Yeah, I love Maryland. I visited DC, but it's just one of those things. I stayed in Bethesda and we kind of took the train in, took the train out. We really just kind of stayed around the capital. We were there for a very specific reason. So, but I love Bethesda. Love, love,
I
love
mean, I
it.
don't know what you think, but like I feel like Maryland, DC, Baltimore had so much culture. Like I'm kind of craving that a little bit here. Like
Yeah,
I'm like, where are
there's
my museums? Where's like, you know, I'm like looking around. I mean, it's beautiful. I love it here, but like that's something I don't miss the traffic, but yeah,
It's
I
different. It's
yeah, I
definitely
love it.
different out here. And I was telling people back in Minneapolis even, that there's really more culture there in the Twin Cities than we have here. Like, there really isn't much of a community per se here at all. Like, there's no center, I don't think,
No,
for for anyone. Everyone's just kind of scattered and mixed all together.
pretty
And
spread out. Yeah,
yeah,
totally. Yeah.
very spread out. To think that we have 6 million people here is
I
scary.
know. Where are they?
Uh, yeah, who knows? But we manage.
Yeah.
So tell me how long you've been, I don't know if I missed it, and if I did, please forgive me, but how long have you been, taking care of people's hearts?
So, I guess when you think about training, oh gosh, on my own, probably about 4 years, but then like in training, 7 years total, I would say.
Awesome. And I love the story about, your uncle and how that kind of gave you the passion to follow this path of yours, because I have to think that you meet a lot of people who are really sick, and maybe some of them don't make it. What would you say to me to so that I don't get there? So say I come to you and I'm this wonderful 30-year-old, my 30-year-old self, and you want to have a serious conversation with me about taking care of my heart now. How would you start that conversation?
Well, let me ask you, am I talking to you? You exactly,
Yes.
just rewinding. So, I mean, I think this is really important. And I think what you need to realize as you, particularly you, as an African American woman, are at a higher risk for developing heart disease than the general population in general. So, the African American population, unfortunately, the disease starts sooner, it gets worse quicker, and it's underdiagnosed in 75% of the patients. And in fact, we did a recent study about what we saw in progress for heart disease, what we saw in like, okay, how many people are we catching? How many people are we preventing at an earlier age? All of the racial lines went down except for the African American population, which
Wow.
is very, very, discouraging. And because it's like all of the other populations don't have that serious morbidity, mortality associated with heart disease as African American patients do. And
Hmm.
so I think as a 30-year-old, you would think that you're very healthy. You think you're invincible. And I would say to a certain extent, yes, but knowing that you are genetically predisposed than most and that it's not your fault, it's just your genes, your genetic makeup is such that you need to get checked out earlier, you need
Okay.
to get a screening earlier. If it's all normal, that's fine, just establish care and then keep it up once a year, just get in there, get through the door.
Okay. That is probably the most difficult part because, uh, and I don't know, I don't believe that it's just a Black community thing. I feel like men in general have a hard time going to the doctor.
I agree.
But but there is just a distrust of, you know, going to the doctor, and the funny thing is what I wanna talk to you about is that so many more people have insurance now, but I don't feel like we're getting any healthier in a lot of different ways. What is your kind of opinion about that?
Agreed. And I think a lot of it has to do with convenience sometimes. And so I do get a lot of like busy moms or busy dads or like high stress jobs. And, that is kind of their excuse for as to why they can't necessarily work out or eat healthy. And to that, I am kind of saying, like, okay, well, what are we working towards? Like, are we working towards you living in general? Like, are you gonna have a life that's worth living if you don't keep up your health? You can work all you want, but like, I mean, if you don't have, I think you need just one scare in your life before you really realize what's truly important. Is it the job that like I'm giving my life away to, or is it like that extra piece of cake or extra piece of French fries or whatever the extra bite is that's just giving me that minute satisfaction right then and there? And
Yeah.
it's all a balance, really. Like, it's never like you should be aggressively cutting out lots and lots of things and being on a strict. I think the key to success in a heart healthy relationship is just having like that nice little balance. More often than not, you're making good choices. Yes, you can cheat on the weekends. Yes, you can still have your fun. And you don't feel bad because you've been good so long.
Right. Right. What about and I know I'm kind of all over the place because my mind is all over the place, but we're
Yeah,
gonna
yeah,
get
tell
some
me.
structure because I know that there are certain things that you want to make sure that the audience gets from this conversation. But we always hear so many things. So what is the effect of alcohol on our heart health? And I know that there's the, conversation about what's too much, what's not enough, or what's enough. What is the role of alcohol in our heart health?
Great question. And I think there was also like this misnomer. Everyone's like, a glass of red wine a day keeps the heart doctor away, which, yeah, there were some studies that there were some antioxidant levels that did help. And so I won't ever say like maybe a glass here and there it's totally fine. Again, moderation. But anything more than 2 to 3 glasses a day has been proven to actually cause something called a dilated cardiomyopathy, which means your heart gets stretched out and your heart function actually decreases. And in fact, I saw an unfortunate 34-year-old today. So she drinks 6 glasses of alcoholic beverages per night, and her heart function is about half of what it should be. She's an
Wow.
otherwise completely normal, but her life has completely changed now. So alcohol has so many deleterious effects. That's one of them. The second thing that alcohol can actually do is, if you do have a predisposition to having a cardiac arrhythmia, it can actually trigger that. So I've seen a lot of people, if they have like a binge drinking episode, that they go into stuff called atrial fibrillation or ventricular tachycardia or supraventricular tachycardia. And these are all related to alcohol and how dehydrated you are, the electrolyte imbalances, and the stressor it puts on your heart.
Wow. That's amazing. 6 drink I listen, I have my wine. I do. And I used to do a lot of tequila. Like tequila
Yeah.
was my drink. And before tequila it was gin. And before like as I've grown, my tastes have grown with it. But I can't imagine 6 drinks a day. Like she must yeah, I
I
so
know.
it's good to understand that maybe that is not a normal thing because I don't know that I have anyone in my life that
I
does
don't think
that.
it's a normal thing, but you know what? Like, I think it's like when we think, "Oh, just a fifth of scotch each night just to put me to sleep, that's okay," and it's like, it's not okay actually,
Yeah,
because
yeah,
I mean, eventually it's hurting something.
it is.
Um, and you know what the fearful thing about atrial fibrillation is that you can just have it one day and that can immediately cause a stroke, and so that is the dreadful complication of it.
My father actually, had that, and it was before I moved here. I lived in Minneapolis, and he had got to the point where he could not lay down and sleep. He was sleeping sitting up in a chair, of course, not telling me any of this
Of
because 'cause
course.
I'm in Minnesota. He ends up going to the hospital. I don't know if I told you the story when I came to
No.
visit, but he went to the hospital, to the emergency room, and they had to shock his heart back into rhythm. It had gone so long, and had he waited another night, because he, men again,
Yeah.
oh, I'm gonna feel better tomorrow, and
Yeah.
then tomorrow, oh, I'm gonna feel better tomorrow, and then he says, well, he got to the point where he says, if I don't feel better tomorrow, I'm gonna go to the doctor. So thank goodness he went.
I'm so happy he went. And actually, timing is of an essence because if you wait more than 48 hours, you have to undergo another procedure before we can even shock your heart. So if you go right away, you are in that golden zone. So, like, if you ever feel any kind of heart racing episodes and you want to wait, probably best not to. Like, just go in. Like, if it's nothing, it's nothing, right? Like, it can be taken care of. But is he doing okay? Is it
He
like
oh yeah, he's 72 years old and still kicking. He wore the
the monitor?
monitor for a
Yeah.
long, long time. He's still
Uh-huh.
on medication, of
Okay.
course. I don't know that he'll ever not be on medication at this point, even though he's ready to stop.
Well,
But
we could there's ablations too, so there's options for him if he really
yeah.
wants to get rid of it. Yeah.
Well, 72, and he, I tell him
But
all the
he's
time,
doing it. He's
he
awesome.
feels, I think he's really my age. Like, he's really like my age. He's
That's
still
good.
climbing on, top of roofs. He's a general contractor. So he still does all this stuff that I keep telling him to let the young guys do. Can you stop, Dad? It's just time
That's
to
oh
stop.
my gosh. Oh my gosh.
He'll be around another 30 years, I'm
Well,
sure.
good. I'm glad. Yeah.
And so I want to make sure that I am taking care of myself so I can live as long as my dad.
And I
And
think you're doing it.
I also want to make sure that my grandkids are learning these lessons, because I look at the diets that, and I'm going to just keep it personal and hope my kids don't get too mad at me that I'm telling their their business, but they don't they do not eat healthy. They just don't. And a
Well,
lot of the
what's
things that
healthy
they,
to you?
well, to me, and in my old age, I don't do anything processed. I mean, I have listened to the doctors and everyone who says stay on the outside of the grocery store. I
Yeah.
go on the inside for my olive oil or my coconut milk, like stuff like that, and my spices. But I shop on the outside of the store. But my kids do not. Everything is, I can put it in the microwave, or I just take it out of this package and I put it in the air fryer. Everything is pre-made these days for, and to me, when you think about how long food has to last, it's like common sense. Like, what are they doing to this food so it can last like 3 years?
I mean, you're absolutely right. And I think the people that really have to worry about it, and your kids seem like they're pretty healthy, like other than the fact that, they might eat in the aisles, which
My son was over 300 pounds before he lost a lot of weight, and he started by just stopping. No more soda. He did a
soda
lot
is a
just
big
drinking.
one.
Yeah.
Soda is huge. So I'm super happy. Like, here's the thing with the processed foods that we don't understand is the amount of trans fat that's in there and then the amount of sodium that's in there. So if someone's like really struggling with blood pressure issues or wanting to lose weight and they're wondering why, they're like, I'm not eating anything terrible. I always ask them, what do you, oh, I just have some lunch meat. Like, it's not much. It's just a little, yeah, that little bit has 500 micrograms of sodium in it. Like, it's
Yeah.
it's a lot of sodium packed into that little square. As far as healthy eating goes for me, I think we talked about this too a little bit, but it's really for me, it's about long-term effects. So I know a lot of people decide to do this crazy diet, like clean January, and then they really, really go hard for that. They do really well. And then the minute that they see a pizza or a piece of cake or, their favorite drinks, they'll go binge one
Yeah.
day. And then you're kind of like, well, nothing happened to me. I didn't die. Nothing's terrible. Just gonna, and then little by little, the foundation gets cut off. Whereas I think the best way to do it is just Monday through Friday. And this is what's worked for my patients. And,
Okay.
it could probably work for anybody listening out there is Monday through Friday, try to be really clean. like really good about your diet. Like Monday through Friday is work weeks. It's a school night. We're going to pre-plan all of our meals. It doesn't have to be crazy. So like during the day, eat super clean. In the evening, if you want your carbohydrates, you can introduce them. Like usually dinner is a family event. You want like something hearty and filling. You don't want just a salad, which is totally fine.
Yeah.
Look up Mediterranean diet, incorporate fresh fruits, vegetables. If you're going to have a little bit of carbohydrates, keep it a little bit limited in the evening. And then on the weekends, have your fun. Go to that restaurant, enjoy a glass of wine, have everything. And you almost feel like you deserve it. And
Right.
then when you kind of keep it up that way, you have long-term success. People keep it up for years.
That makes sense, and it makes it really simple. Just
Super
clean eat
simple.
during the week and have a little fun on the weekends.
Yeah, and if you slip up on the weekday, it's okay. There's always a new day coming. So don't be so hard on yourself and just go down this like spiral of like, I screwed up. I don't want to do it again. Like,
That I feel like that is definitely the self-talk. It's like, first of all, tomorrow never comes. So you're like, I'm gonna do this tomorrow, I'm gonna do this tomorrow, it never comes. But then when you do have those moments of weakness, you're just like, oh my God, and your self-talk is, see, I told you you couldn't do it.
you couldn't do
You
it.
can't even
Mhm.
last for 2 weeks.
Couldn't
And
even
then
do
you're
it.
like, oh my God, of course. So let me have another piece of cake and let me have another piece. And then before you know it, you right back into the old habits. That's me. That's been my pattern up and down all my life.
You
Even
know,
as a firefighter,
I
it
feel
wasn't
like
easy.
you're a firefighter?
I was, yes.
I did not know that. Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
So it
retired.
was funny because I think that was kind of my patterns too with eating. And then somehow I realized I was like, I can't be preaching this and not committing myself. And so whatever I'm telling you is something I physically observe myself. Like, and it was funny because my sister said something to me the other day because I was being like, I don't know if you're like this, but I'm a little type A and like a little bit of a perfectionist, and
I'm a
you
Virgo.
just want to be like, perfect at everything. And
Yes.
she just said something. She was like, you know what? Akka means older sister in our language. She's like, Akka, give yourself some grace. Like, just it's okay. Like tomorrow's a new day. And I was like, she's 5 years younger than me, so I was like, wow, you're hella like smart for saying all this right now. You're super, super wise. But and then I just started like realizing I was like, you got to give yourself a little grace. It's okay. It's okay. We mess up. We're human.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. It's easier to beat ourselves up, but just saying every day, today's another day. And that's kind of something that I live by. Like, today's the only day that matters. Like, I can only control, and my response. Like, I can't even control the moment that I'm in. I can only control the response to the moment I'm in. And it right
exactly.
now really is the only thing that matters.
Amazing.
That is awesome. So I love the fact, and you've just made it really easy for us to eat well during the week. Keep your sodium low, and make sure that your trans fats are low. I think that we all believe that fat is bad for us, and even in this keto age that we're in, you still need to have some kind of limits on the fat that you take in, right?
Yeah, so keto is interesting, and I don't want to ever like, you know, get a bunch of people mad because they can't do keto because it works, it truly does work.
Yeah,
But you have to be careful with any diet. You have to be careful. There's no single diet that's going to work for everybody. It's not one size fits all. So when it comes to, I'm a cholesterol specialist by nature. So when people come see me, we do their full cholesterol panel. We look for genetic particles that can predispose them to developing heart blockages or blockages throughout their. And if we see that this is elevated, or we see any evidence that they're blocking up anywhere, so say that their carotid arteries are blocked up or their heart arteries are blocked up, then I know that we really need to treat their cholesterol, get it down quick. And for them, I'm going to recommend a Mediterranean diet. So that's going to be a complete ball game. And that's a really good one to have just in general for heart health. That might not work if you're also diabetic.
right.
So, you have to have a Mediterranean low carb diabetic diet for them. Then there's patients that just are maybe obese and they just need to cut out calories. So those patients, you have to do that. You have to get their calories, you reduce it in half, and that's the way to achieve their goals. There's other patients who are normal weight, normal cholesterol, but have high blood pressure. And those are the patients where I'm saying, like, okay, we need to really look at your salt, like 2000 milligrams max. Sometimes I even put them on 1500, and it's not nice, but like we found really cool alternatives, and I've had a really good time and fun finding these. We've found some salt supplements from Mexico actually that taste like salt, but they don't give you the high blood pressure readings.
Awesome.
Yeah, and then there's like obviously Mrs. Dash that you can use. I think the minute that you start cooking at home, it's automatically going to be better than eating out. Like
Absolutely.
automatic, even if it's a bad meal, it's going to
Yeah.
be healthier than eating out. Like,
It is.
yeah.
That's why I like cooking my own food. Like I really don't eat out that often either. If I do, it's salad and go. I get teased a lot because I will go and get 4 salads at a time so that I can have a salad every
You know,
day.
I've still never had salad and go. Do you like it?
Oh my goodness.
It's
Yes,
good.
it
Yeah.
is. It is. But it's those hidden calories. Like I when I really
The
stopped
dressing.
and went through it,
Yeah.
because I am like in all 3 of those boats that you just said. I need to lose the weight. My blood pressure is not high, but I can use some help with that, and my blood sugars are high. So I have to address all of those. So I intermittent fast to help with the blood sugar, and then I make sure that my calories are low, so I'm losing the weight, and I keep my carbs low. Like if I have bread, it's one slice. I really don't do rice. If I have spaghetti, it's with spaghetti squash. Like I really try. And so to me, when I look at myself, it's like I do every damn thing right. I know I do. So what is my problem? So
Well, honestly, you're doing everything right. And I think it really just comes down to like calorie input versus output and just being in a negative balance at
yeah,
that point.
yeah. I need to
But
start moving again.
yeah, you're gonna do it. You're absolutely gonna do it. I just one thing about the keto diet, that's what I was trying to say was everyone thinks the keto diet is good for cholesterol, and it's absolutely terrible. So if you have high cholesterol, I would stay away from keto.
Yeah, I tried keto once, but I had to come to the realization that I can't live my life like that. So I don't think you can live a life on keto. And everything was cooked with butter, and I gained 10 pounds in a month instead of losing weight.
So, they say that there's true keto and then there's fake keto. So I did a lot of research on this because I did keto myself for a few weeks. It worked, but I got past, there's something called the keto flu. Have you heard of it?
Yes.
So
Yep.
like you drop your carbohydrates and your brain's just like, give me the carbs, like, and
Yes.
it just like actually gets sick and you get sick. And you actually get better after a little while. So your body gets used to it, and it uses fat metabolism, and it's great. Everything's great. And I actually have one of my best friend's sisters who has gotten great success, and she does keto the proper way in the sense that she doesn't use butter. She doesn't just fill all that fat content with bad fats. So she actually does a lot of fresh fruits, vegetables, and then she has keto specific. Her whole kitchen has been, but it's a lifestyle, right? Like, and she
Right.
spends tons of money on this. And then it's honestly like, it's very inconvenient because she has to bring a whole suitcase full of snacks when we go travel together. And but she
Right.
does it because she gets such good results that like she's like, whatever, here's my snacks, this is what I eat.
Right.
And so if you do keto so diligently and so healthy and you do it that way, then go for it. But it's, in my opinion, I think it's just really hard as a lifestyle to keep up.
Yeah. Yeah. And I feel like, and you just mentioned that some things are just more expensive to do. Like you hear that complaints a lot that eating healthy is so expensive. And I think that when you think about our black communities that are kind of suffer the most health issues are usually in those places where there are food deserts. Like for example, in Minneapolis, and the north side there's one grocery store, and some people have to travel a really long way to get to that store, and that's right in the heart of the city. So um are are there any words of advice that we can give to people who just are in those food deserts where food insecurity is really what is driving their health issues?
That's such a tough one because, I feel for them. Like, it's like, what are you supposed to do when you're so busy and it's just not available like the way that it should be available for everyone. And the only thing I can really say about that is, like, look at your condition, and instead of trying to be so healthy that, like, you cut out, like, you have to have only fresh fruits, vegetables, blah blah blah. If you have a food desert and you're only allowed to take the processed foods, look at the labels. Look at the labels of the processed food. Pick the lower evil of the two evils. And
Okay.
so, like, the lower sodium content, the lower fat content, the lower calorie content. If they give you an option of whole wheat versus white, with the breads and stuff, you can pick that. Or try to just eliminate the carbohydrates in general and just try to eat more protein. Get protein shakes if you can from those places. Those are the things that are going to keep you full and help you overall with, kind of your journey. But that's a really tough situation. I mean, I really don't have a great solution for it other than the fact that we really have to be better about giving resources to places like that.
Yes, absolutely. And do you have any thoughts about the and in some neighborhoods, and again, I always have to make sure that we stay kind of true to this, to what my mission is on this show, but at the same time, kind of lead the audience to a different way, to think a little bit differently. And so I know I used to work at a food bank, and going to a food bank has a lot of stigma attached to it. Excuse me. However, I feel like food banks can be used in a way because there's so much fresh produce that they receive at food banks that sometimes they throw away. I can't tell you how much food gets thrown away even at a food bank. And
Tell me, what do they like? What do they have?
well, I mean, we get the stuff that no one buys. So you'll get eggplant and tomatillos and a lot of thing and eggplant and zucchini, things that people who live in urban communities don't cook on a regular basis. And so
Mm.
it was hard for me in that position to get them to want to try eggplant. And so I would come up with recipes that I would
You
give,
would.
well, yeah, because 'cause they're not gonna go out and try and figure if they're gonna see this eggplant, they're gonna walk right by it unless you have a recipe that they can go home and try. Like, that's my experience in food banking, but, I know I'm rambling, I'm on a soapbox, but somehow being able to incorporate food banking into where there are food deserts, I think is especially in the city because there are so many different options, but
So
anyway.
how does that work? Like, they have groceries that they can just pick up, or is it just pre-made food that?
S Yeah, so I worked for a regional food bank, and we supplied food to our food bank partners, our pantries, and so we would give them food to give out. So if you are a single person, you could go to a food bank, tell them, "It's just me and my house," and they'll give you enough food for you to last for a few days, and it's usually really some you'll have that, tuna or cans of beans. You're definitely going to have things that you're going to look at and be like, oh my God, what am I going to do with this? Split peas are very popular with food banks,
I can see
but
that.
split peas are awesome.
Yeah, yeah. But, split peas were like, the paupers food. So it was like it was cheap to find and easy to make, and but split peas are very nutritious actually. So
yeah.
that's actually, it's a benefit to have that there.
Yeah, I had to do the research. Most
Yeah.
of the things that a food bank carries are healthy. on the healthier side. There are some food banks that still, but we just really didn't have soda and snacks and candy. Like
Perfect.
we our food bank was like, nope, we're not going to take any of that. But it was always difficult for me to try to get people to try new things. We're so, like, even if they had a grocery store with every fruit and vegetable in it, they would probably still only grab potatoes, corn, peas. Like, to
You know,
me,
and
that's the big thing.
I think you're absolutely right. I think it just takes a little bit of, pushing in that direction and maybe a little guidance on some recipes. And, even my own mother, who just recently she's pre diabetic now, and her cholesterol is a little elevated. And I'm her daughter. So it's like, you know, I was like, Mom, like we can't, like, so we went down, we started talking, and a lot of her, what I realized, a lot of her things that she thought were healthy were not healthy. But more importantly, when I tried to give her healthy vegetables and options, she was like, I don't know. I've never heard of that. I don't want to try it. Like, she's never tried hummus until recently. I
Oh,
was like, Mom, just like have like a little bit of celery and hummus for the afternoon.
yeah.
Like, what's hummus? I don't want it. It sounds nasty. And literally got hummus the other day. She calls me an hour later. She's like, this is the best. I love roasted red pepper hummus.
My
It's so
favorite.
good. She's like, I'm doing it. She's like, this is great. Like, and I think it just took me giving her 4 or 5 recipes that she could keep in her armamentarium. And I think maybe one of my next projects should be, and I really do believe I need to start doing this because more than one person has asked me, is to create like maybe like a little quick video about like what a heart healthy meal consists of, and
Yeah.
break down the calories, break down the nutrition facts, and then make a series of these that people can just play and make it simple. Nothing crazy. You don't need to buy a bunch of like spices, just simple salt, pepper, maybe paprika, red chili, whatever,
Yeah.
and just figure out a way to get these recipes across. You don't need to make meat and potatoes every night. You don't
Yeah.
need to. And so the other thing about cooking is like how much oil you put on. That has a direct correlation to your bad cholesterol and your triglycerides. And
Okay.
so you can actually get the same effect by putting a quarter of the amount of oil that you do when you're like trying to like saute vegetables or saute fruit. Those are the unexpected things. You think you're eating so healthy, but then you're putting a bunch of oil on the pan.
Right.
That's it. That's what's
Right.
doing it. So I think it's just the secret stuff like the dressing and the salads. Like people think it's healthy, or the salad they think is like a healthy salad, but it's also like 700 calories.
Yeah.
That's 700 calories for just like
Yes.
lunch,
Yeah.
So
Right. And that's a lot of calories for one meal. But I feel like that's the kind of education that we don't really hear a lot. We hear a lot of don't do this and don't do that, but we don't get a lot of,
what
okay,
can you
so
do?
realistically in a meal, you
Yeah,
shouldn't have more than this many milligrams of salt.
totally.
Because I don't know that most of us walk around with that knowledge in our head, but I did see a video today that explained the importance of not having so much salt and how it affects your blood pressure, how your bloodstream brings in the salt brings in more water,
Water.
and the more water you bring into your bloodstream is what is causing your heart to. Yeah, it was a very great video.
Gosh, I'm impressed you watched it. Yeah, that's exactly right. You nailed it. That's exactly
Yeah,
right.
yeah,
Blood pressure is the leading cause of like morbidity and mortality in the African American population. And
yeah,
it's interesting because like I think a lot of people don't necessarily know the studies that well. So like everybody kind of treats the African American population with the same drugs that we give the general population.
hmm,
And if you look at the studies, African Americans actually don't respond to a few classes of drugs. So ACE inhibitors, they're not the first line. You actually should be started on a calcium channel blocker. Nitrates are good. Hydralazine is good. And so these are all things. So in general, African Americans develop high blood pressure at a younger age. It rapidly progresses, and it's more likely to cause heart disease or stroke. And it's Honestly, I wish I could just tackle that. Like that would be the one thing that, young people getting them in blood pressure checks, that is something so preventable.
Does that, because I saw an article today, um, as I was getting ready, a new article that I had never seen before that said that Black women are more than twice as likely as their white peers to have uncontrolled high blood pressure during their childbearing years, raising their risk for pregnancy related complications, which
Yeah.
to me makes sense because we hear about um, Black women dying more in childbirth. Like, is there, and I don't know if there's a connection, but right away I'm like, oh, there's got to be a connection there. But I don't know that there is.
No, there absolutely is. Actually, it's an isolated independent risk factor, just being Black. And like you're just going to be at an increased risk for high blood pressure during pregnancy, increased risk for preeclampsia, increased risk for just kind of pregnancy related complications. So if you have high blood pressure before you start pregnancy, it's one category. And then there's another one as you just get it while you're in pregnancy. Either way, they're both bad. And we do see this a lot. In Phoenix, I haven't seen, there's just not a huge African American population here
Yeah.
compared to like Baltimore or like, any of the other places that I've like lived and practiced before. So I haven't really seen a whole lot, to be honest, but I just think it's a false sense of population statistic here.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's hard to gauge when the population
I mean,
isn't
there's just,
it's
it's,
not
it's
here.
just not here. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I still think that we just need to do a better job with seeing our doctor. Like
Just get
going
in
every
the door.
at
Yeah.
least that once a year free wellness check that, that Obamacare pays for. Like, at least do something and have a doctor, like a doctor. If I had not had my primary care, I probably still wouldn't know that I had breast cancer because
That's
I
crazy.
told you, she knew my body better than I did because we had such a long relationship.
So wait, what did
S
she, how did she find it?
j It was my wellness exam.
Wow.
I had valley fever last year,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
so I in order to treat valley fever, they put me on a whole lot of insulin and metformin, and so I fainted at home. I was by myself, I fainted, I busted my eye, I it was I felt like I was in a fight with Mike Tyson because I must have just bam.
Oh my god.
I was bruised and, it was
What?
awful. It was awful.
Oh my
So, I
gosh.
went back to my primary care just to get the stitches out, and I was like, we may as well let's schedule doing our wellness exam." She's like, "Yeah, you're behind on that." So we just and that was it. That's literally how it happened. I just hadn't done my wellness because of the valley fever crap.
Hmm. That's
But yeah.
insane. But I'm so happy they caught it.
Yeah.
And like, the only thing I can say to everyone is like, I'm just really happy the minute that they step in the door. So like once they come inside the door, like let me take on the burden of like taking care of your heart. And I think any cardiologist or any healthcare provider would feel the same. It's
Yeah.
like we're just here to help you. Like we just want to make sure you live a nice, healthy life. And like that's literally what we trained our whole lives for. So, and I think it's just about getting in the door.
Are we only gonna see you though when there's a problem? Like, you know what I mean? Like if I am just 30-year-old Twana and I everything is fine, I go see my doctor, there are no issues. Are they gonna say, "Hey, go see this cardiologist just, for shits and giggles?"
Good. That's a great question. And I think that this is really important to talk about too, because it's like, let's talk about why you should see a cardiologist at a young age. And it should be really prompted by your family. So if
Okay.
you know that Uncle Jimmy died of a heart attack, when he was 48, 52, anything below 65 really should prompt
Okay.
someone's attention. If mom, dad had atrial fibrillation, if grandma passed away from a stroke, and everybody in the family has had high blood pressure, probably best to just mention that. Be like, hey, and the key words that I would recommend saying are, hi, I feel great right now, but I want to make sure my cardiovascular health is intact because of my strong family history of XYZ, and just mention that to your primary care. And then more often than not, you will see us. I'm not saying everybody needs to see us, of course, if
Right.
you're feeling fine, but that will prompt a series of thoughts like, oh, yeah, we should be checking. We should be checking this. We should be. It's just high alert for stuff that might not have been on their radar to begin with.
Yeah. I mean, as a young person, most of the time it's not on your radar. Well, I don't see very many people smoking anymore, but when I was a kid, there were a lot of people who smoked a pack of cigarettes a day, you know?
Totally. Oh, yeah.
And I feel like that's really helped because when I was doing my research, so we've kind of touched on everything that, it said that we can do to really that first step to improving our heart health, making sure that we're not taking in too much salt, making sure that we are, excuse me, getting staying active. And that's where I wanted to go next because we haven't really talked about anything physical.
Yes.
So you hear 30 minutes a day of moderate exercise is really what you need to have a healthy heart. What does that look like? 30 minutes of moderate exercise.
Yeah, so 30 minutes of moderate exercise, it really, anyone can do this. Like anybody can do this. And it can be as simple as walking your dog for 30 minutes. And I'm serious, that
Yeah.
will do it.
Okay.
If you add an incline, up hills, down hills, that's adding a little more vigor to it. If you throw in some weights and go to the gym, that's even more bonus points for you because really at that point you're not even talking about heart health, you're talking about longevity because the number one reason why elderly people fall is because they don't have enough balance and they don't have enough muscle. So if you're getting older, the best thing you can do is like strength training for yourself and keeping your core intact. Anything else? So you're a swimmer, and
I
so
love
you could
swimming.
do, yeah, moderate intensity swimming. So just casual laps around the pool, 20 to 30 minutes. You could ride your bike. You could just do a light little jog around your neighborhood. And honestly, all of these are great exercises. If you want, you can just go up a flight of stairs, come back down, go up another flight of stairs, come back down. This is very easily done in like people that live in an apartment complex that may not necessarily have access to a gym. There's very limited excuses about exercising these days. And I hate to
Okay.
say it because of the free resources available. YouTube has so many free workouts.
I love
And
it. I
yeah,
know.
you just type in whatever you want in YouTube and you have your own personal trainer. Yeah, you might have to listen to a commercial here and there, but like, that's pretty much it.
Yeah,
Like,
you need a rest anyway. Like those commercials are built-in breaks.
oh,
It's like, "Oh, great. Commercial's coming in 2 minutes. Let me get
exactly,
let me
exactly.
get at my
Yeah.
water."
So no, so that's a great way to do it. But honestly, just getting to move and just moving your body and my husband has this thing on his phone and his Apple Watch, and it's like time to move, and it just like I don't know. I think people have that like, and it just like tells you like, okay, you've been sitting too long. Get
Yeah,
up.
get up and move. My watch does the same thing, and so the thing is you have to listen to it.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Because it can go off and tell you to get up and move, but if you just sit there, it's not doing much good, which is the thing that is hard to medicate is your motivation. I was listening to Denzel Washington. He says there are only two things that you need to be successful in whatever you want to do, and that's discipline and consistency. And I feel like those are the two things that most of us lack when it comes to our health because we know what to do. Pretty much. It's kind of common sense, right, Dr. Holly?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
so it's just that discipline and consistency and you can't really medicate that. I mean, you can,
yeah.
but
No, that's I mean, you nailed it. Like that's really it. Like, and it's easy for like doctors to come and say like, "Oh my gosh, you have to be disciplined." But I mean, it's hard for us too. Like it's hard for everyone. It's
yeah.
not easy. And it's not I was listening to another podcast about how to be successful and like live your best life and you know the way he said it is, being disciplined is not sexy. Like having, yeah, it's not glamorous. It's not this like glamorous lifestyle that you're gonna live, but you're gonna be rewarded at the end. And I thought about it and I was like, you're right. Like waking up at 5 a.m. and trying to go to the gym before you go to work, that's not sexy or glamorous. That's actually you want to like kill someone. And like
Right.
you're just like, "Oh, I don't want to do this." And I don't want to do it either. I do it because I have no other time. And
Yeah.
like I have to go, you
And
know?
that's it. That's the must have. If you feel, I feel like that's, and listen, when I say all of this stuff, it's because these are the things that I have gone through in my life,
Totally.
because it has to become a must. It almost has to be a must thing for you. And the point of this conversation is to not have that must be, if I don't do this, I'm going to die.
Yeah,
Like,
no.
this is what we want to avoid. Or if I
Yeah,
don't do this, I can have a stroke even, and then I can't function the way that I used to. Like we want it to be, I must do this because I want to be healthy and fit.
exactly. It really is like it has to come like literally from like the center of your heart, like
Yeah.
onward. And you just have to one day wake up and it's not one day, it's every day and it's months and years. And it's just a huge culture and lifetime change. And
Yeah.
when you do that and then your family's on board and everybody is like there rooting for you, nothing can stop you. Even a bad day can't stop you. Like you won't feel it anymore. You're like, "Oh, I messed up today. It's okay. Got tomorrow."
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I just need you to do that. I like record that part right there. So every day that's my alarm clock. It's
Yeah,
okay.
I know.
It's okay. Give yourself grace. Give
Yeah,
yourself
like my
grace.
sister says, "Give yourself some grace."
Give
Yeah.
your Yeah, absolutely. I like that. I like that. Well, I definitely appreciate you coming on. Is there anything that we did not talk about that you wanted to make sure that we did speak with the audience about?
Honestly, I think we touched on it. We touched on that. Um, yeah, just really like coming in soon, coming in early, getting a control over your lifestyle. Don't push it off. Just come in and just know that like there's certain groups in the world that are more predisposed to heart disease, and it's nothing that you did wrong. It's just genes. And so I will say that over and over again. It's like, well, they're like, well, Dr. Vidali, I eat so clean and I exercise and blah, blah, blah. Why is my cholesterol high? You have a genetic marker that predisposes you. Blame your ancestors. Like,
Yeah.
I'm so sorry. Like, but that doesn't mean that we don't have ways we can get this under control. But like,
Right.
I don't want you to come to me when it's too late. Like, let's get this beforehand.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
the key. Let's catch it while it's early or beforehand. And, hopefully it'll start with our kids because our kids just kind of do what we do.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's funny because once I became a grandparent, everything that my perspective just totally switched. It's like, okay, now I have to think about them and then their kids and then their kids. And really as a parent, when you're just in it and it's just, oh, I got to get up and work out at 5 o'clock because I got to make sure I get to work. I got to get the kids to school. I got to do this. I got to do that. But when you're just sitting back watching your kids raise their kids, it's like,
You think
yeah.
you're like, oh, what can I fix? Yeah.
They
But
just won't
I'm
let
sure
you.
you're doing it and they appreciate it. So,
Yeah. Yes.
yeah.
Well, I just, look forward to being close to them again. We're just too far away.
Yeah.
But yes. Well, thank you so much. I just wanted to make sure that everyone understands. And listen, I'm sure there have been, and I usually tell people this before I get started, but there are some articles that have been populating in the chat, whether you are on Twitch or YouTube or Facebook. There are articles that have been going on about the Live to the Beat campaign toolkit. So I love that. And I'm hoping that we'll be able to kind of share that throughout the year. I don't want Heart American Heart Month to end today. I feel like we need to focus on this all year. And so that is my plan here on this podcast, to focus on it all year so that we can really make substantive changes in our health. It's not going to happen overnight. We really have to, focus on making really changing our habits. And so that takes time. We can't just think we're going to do it in a month and then we're fixed.
I know. And honestly, I have to thank you and I applaud your cause and I applaud for like how much effort you put into this. And I think it's a really special, near and dear topic to your heart and it really shows. So um, I think it's excellent. And I'm very honored that you thought of me.
Well, I'm honored that you came on. I'm always honored because your expertise and your knowledge it's very valuable to the people that I speak to every day. So I
Absolutely.
really appreciate you.
Oh, no, no, I appreciate you and thank you. And if there's any, other time that you want to do a little refresher and check in, we'll get that set up.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for offering that. Now, I'm going to take you up on something. Might not be that, but you'll be
We'll do
hearing from me
something.
soon.
We'll
Yes,
do something for
absolutely.
sure.
Absolutely. Well, thank you very much. I'm going to let you go while I just wrap it up with everyone else. Have
Got
a
it.
great evening, and we'll see each other soon, I'm sure.
Bye. I'll see you soon.
All
Okay.
right. Thank you. All right. So, thank you so much again for joining me. This impromptu, Dr. Vidali has been very busy. And so she called yesterday, reached out yesterday and said that she can get us in for February. And I just wanted to do it because I think it was important that we kind of shine a light on this. I've, been seeing a lot of people that I've known on Instagram all last month who have had open heart surgery, who know people who have had these issues in the past, and so it was really important to me that we talk about this. And so I hope that if you're out there listening, whether you're live or whether you're tuning in on demand, I want you to commit, especially if you know that you need it. Listen, we look in the mirror every day. We know we know what we need to do, and so let's just work together and make one change, just a small change. Make one change together, support each other, and help each other live healthier lives, because it's really important. Black people, we have the worst health outcomes of any one else in this country, and it's just time to start focusing a little bit more on the why, and then getting past that to just how are we going to do it? How can we support one another? And so let's do that. Thank you, thank you, thank you again. I'm going to let y'all go and enjoy your evening. And let's go ahead. And I know I only have a couple of people here, but we're going to go ahead and raid on over to the Rebel Inc. because she's celebrating her partnership today. So the couple of us, the three of us, we're going to move on over to the Rebel Inc. Again, thank you so much for joining us. I'm going to go ahead and start this raid right now so we can get out of here. And I always do that. Hold on a second. Let me. There we go. Now we can officially do it. Copy that, raid. Now we're going to go on over to the Rebel Inc. and celebrate with her. So again, thanks you guys. Oh, and this Saturday, Julie Rogers is going to be here with us. You don't want to miss this. This is going to be a fun time. This is a really good friend of mine, and we're going to have a lot of fun, but we're also going to talk a lot about some serious stuff as well. So join me on Saturday as I welcome Julie Rogers. And now we are off for real this time. Let's go. Let's go. See y'all Saturday.